Hello, students. As we prepare to write our 4 academic essays this semester, let's take a few minutes to really look at what academic writing entails. So this video will help you to understand clearly what academic writing is, the formatting that you will need to use in all of your writing drafts, and finally, how to identify and find credible sources to use as evidence for your essays. So to start, what is academic writing? We're going to actually take a quick glance at a link that was given in your Unit 1 resources to highlight some of the important aspects of academic writing. So here we can see they are focusing on the same question, and I encourage you to come to this site on your own and really explore each of the subunits here because it will help you understand purpose and how to structure your essays, how to use evidence, and continuing with these points. For this video, we are going to focus on the bullet points presented here. So academic writing is planned and focused. It answers the question and demonstrates an understanding of the subject. It's structured, it's coherent, logical, and it brings together related points and material. And this is where you get to demonstrate your ability to synthesize information. Academic writing is evidenced. So you need to use support for your claims, your opinions, and your arguments, and you do this with evidence. And you must reference this evidence accurately, and that includes in-text citations, as well as having a properly formatted and fully developed references page at the end of each essay. Finally, academic writing is formal in tone and style. So it uses appropriate language and verb tenses. It's clear, concise, and balanced. So again, I really recommend you coming to this website and exploring more about the basics of academic writing. We're going to return to the PowerPoint and look at each of these points individually as they pertain to our class. So to start with focus. So as you will see as you're getting your scores and feedback on your diagnostic essay, our rubric has 5 areas that we mark on, and focus is one of them. So we're looking at, do you follow the prompt that is given for the writing assignment? Do you have a clear, well-developed thesis that tells the reader exactly what the entire essay will be discussing? Similarly, do you have clear topic sentences for each body paragraph that signal to the reader what they can expect to find in that paragraph? What is the main point? Finally, a conclusion that is fully developed, restating in new words the ideas behind the thesis and the main points that you have already presented. So this is all about focus, staying on topic. Very similar to unity that we looked at in our Unit 2, keeping your writing unified. Structure is another aspect of academic writing, and on our rubric, this is labeled organization. So we are writing 4 to 5 paragraph academic essays. So you should have a well-developed introduction paragraph that has a hook. It displays information from general to specific and ends with the detailed thesis. Then you develop your body paragraphs off of the points given in the thesis. Finally, you have a conclusion that restates the main points that were presented throughout the essay. The structure overall should be logical, and we use transitions largely to do this. We guide the reader from paragraph to paragraph with transitions. Within paragraphs, we use transitions between ideas. And the genre will largely decide what types of transitions we need to be using. For example, in the compare-contrast essay, we use words like similarly, likewise, in contrast, comparatively, But all of these are signals to help your reader understand where you're going with your writing. And evidence. This is marked as part of development on our WKU rubric. So evidence is the support that you bring to the claims that you make. So we look at, do you have credible sources? And we're going to talk about what is a credible source in just a minute. But are your sources credible? Are the quotations and the paraphrases that you're choosing from those sources logically supporting what you are saying in your paragraphs? And then again, are they referenced properly? Do you have in-text citations formatted properly? And do you have a references page with each of the sources that you have used in the essay listed properly? Tone is also a part of academic writing. And in academic writing, we're formal versus informal. We're concise, which means we write our point very clearly. We don't repeat and repeat and repeat the same sentence in a paragraph. Overall, we repeat our main points from the introduction through the body paragraphs and in the conclusion. But within paragraphs, we don't want to be repeating ourselves. We make a point and we move on. Finally, we're balanced in academic writing. Each of the paragraphs should be about the same length. Ideas should be supported equally. And there should be purpose and balance in the introduction as well as in the conclusion. So let's look at some of the formatting that we need to follow for this course, English 1300. Everything that you write should be Times New Roman, 12-point font, double-spaced. For the essays, you have page numbers in the right top corner. Your title is after the header and it's centered and in bold. Overall, the writing is aligned left, and your margins will probably have to be reset to this 2.54 centimeters all around the paper. You should always indent the first sentence of each paragraph and again include a references page at the end. We will take a look at an example, a student example of the proper formatting. So all of this will be very clear in a visual aid, but let's look first at the header. Most of you are familiar with this, but just to review, in the upper left-hand corner of all of your work, except for the discussion boards, you should have your Chinese name, your English name in parentheses, followed by your student number. Then you have the course and section with the professor name. The third line is the essay name and the draft number. And then finally the date, formatted as following. So let's look at a student example of the proper formatting to have for your essay. So we see here the page number, the header. I've taken out the student name and the ID and just put in a generic, but this is where that would go. Definition essay final and the date. The title is then centered and in bold. Paragraphs are indented. The first sentence of each paragraph is indented. We can see that the margins are set correctly at 2.54 centimeters. Everything is Times New Roman, 12-point double-spaced. Okay, so this is an example of what your essay drafts should look like when you turn them in. Okay, returning to the PowerPoint. Now we're going to look at some tools that you can use to help you, and one is Purdue OWL, which I know I have mentioned previously. We're going to take a quick look at this website, and then we're also going to look at credible sources. So Purdue OWL has sites for or links to different types of writing guides. And we're using APA. So once you come to the main Purdue OWL page, you just scroll down and find the APA guide. And many of you have probably already used this as a source or a resource, a tool to help you with your writing. but I just want to show you again. So we come here to the formatting and style guide. Here's where you can generate citations for your references page. You can indicate if it's a website, book, journal, and then put in the title or the URL here, and it will generate your citations. You can learn more about this on our in-text citations video that is also available. So when we look here, we have all of this to help us with, oops, I want to get rid of that. There we go. To help us with our APA writing. So how do we make in-text citations? How do we make our references list, right? This covers all of the basic things I just spoke about. We're using 12-point Times New Roman, double-spaced. We are not using the title page, abstract, and the headers right now for this class. So don't worry about composing any of this for your English 1300 papers, okay? But they do have sample papers here. And notice this one is a professional paper and this one is a student paper. So for the student paper, they've actually taken out the running header. So this you no longer have to do just page numbers, okay? But overall, you can come here with almost any issue that you're having and questions and search for help through these side links. There's sample papers to look at. And again, it will help you with your in-text citations and your referencing, as well as the general information that we've gone over already. Okay, so finally, we're going to look at credible sources, what they are and how we can find them. So this site, which there's a link on the PowerPoint that will be in doc sharing, has some nice information on how to find credible sources. I would like to point out that right here, it does make a very solid point that Wikipedia is not considered a proper academic source. I think most of you know this, but it's still very tempting to use it. I tell students instead of this, use a proper encyclopedia like Britannica, and that will be considered a credible academic source. In general, finding .gov, .edu, even .org websites are usually the most credible sites. It's also nice to look for, does the site have an author that I can check? So for example, we're looking at credible sources. Who is the author of this? We have a name, and we can actually check her credibility by pushing here and finding out more about her as an author. I have to find it. I know it exists. Whoop, let me go back. That's not doing what I wanted it to. Before I got her credentials to come up, when I pushed that, I wanted to show you that. Maybe they moved it. Oh, they moved it down here. Okay, so we can see here, this is our author. She has a bachelor in communication and a master's in editing and publishing. She has worked as a freelance writer and editor. So her background is all in writing, and especially in publishing. So she would be a credible source to be telling us about how to find credible sources because she is a writer herself and that's her background. So that's something to look for too, especially when you use websites. Do they have an author that I can check their credentials? I'm going to have you guys explore this site more on your own, but I do want to show you this key here, evaluating sources using the CRAP test. So you can click here, and then things to keep in mind. Is the information up to date? Is it relevant and of a level appropriate for your research? So does it tie into what you're even talking about in your writing? Where is the information published and who is the author? Similar to what I was just talking about. The authority, the credibility. Accuracy, again, where does it come from? Is it supported by evidence? And then purpose. So this will help you evaluate sources that you try to use in your writing. But again, come here and look at this yourself to help.